Hi, and welcome to the Kelly Kitley Podcast, America's Social Worker Unfiltered, where every week I have hopeful, honest, and deeply human conversations with changemakers. And today I am so excited to have Nikki Soda on the podcast. She is the co-owner of Soda Consulting. The other owner is her husband. She is a woman in long-term recovery who just celebrated 22 years of sobriety. She's an advocate, a marketer, a public policy guru, a board member extraordinaire, and I can't keep up with her. So I thought, you know what, let's talk and have 30 minutes together to talk about all the work she's doing to change the landscape of sobriety and recovery. And I'm so happy you said yes. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I am so excited to spend some time with you. And the first time that we met, I got to introduce you at Global Exchange. And I remember reading your bio and being like, holy cow, this woman is so impressive.
Mhm.
And then I got to see your film that was there at GXC too. So I follow your travels too, and you are all over the place as well. So I think um,
And sometimes it looks more so on social media than in actuality, right? And sometimes it is. I think, when we're passionate about the work we do, we want to be out there and we want to be engaging and we want to move the needle. And I think we are, from what I'm seeing in the sober curious landscape. And, let's talk about that. I mean, you've been sober a long time. And when we did meet at Global Exchange, I'm like, how have I not met this woman before?
you know, I did the exact same
So
thing.
take us back. How did you get here? How have you changed and evolved to where you are today?
Sure. Well, it's really been an incredible journey. And so I did celebrate 22 years on the 14th. And Kelly, it's wild because on one hand, it feels like yesterday that I was sitting outside of the treatment center that I went to, truly thinking my life is completely over. And I sat on this bench for an hour outside of it, and I'm like, I'm going to lose all of my friends. I am not going to be fun. My life is going to suck. But what I did know is I was like, I'm willing to do whatever they tell me to do because I am so tired of feeling like shit. And there at that point I didn't feel like I could feel any lower than I did. And so I was like willing to do whatever they told me to do to feel better.
How old
And
were you at that time?
23,
So young.
23.
Uh-huh.
And by the grace of my higher power, I went in, I did literally everything that they told me to do. And, I celebrated 22 years. And so it has been what I hope is my one and only treatment experience. And so that, so it's been a reflective week is what
Mhm.
that's part of. So on one hand, it feels like it was just yesterday. On the other hand, it feels like a lifetime ago. And what I will say too is that I receive flowers every anniversary from some girlfriends who I went to kindergarten with, who I have grown up with, and the relationships that the good solid relationships that I had only strengthened, and the ones that I thought were good went by the wayside. And so sobriety has really showed me who is important in my life and those core people. And it's really made me the person that I'm supposed to be because I was a shitty person when I was drinking and drugging. And I was not responsible, I was not reliable, all of the things that I am today. And I can show up and I'm a really good wife. Well, I think he would say that. I try my hardest to be a good mom and have a great relationship with both of my parents and my family members are some of my best friends. So
Wow.
yeah.
So you're 23 years old and you go to treatment. And we were talking. I didn't realize you were a basketball player at one point in time in your life too, which makes total sense because the consulting business that you and your husband own, who he's in recovery, long-term recovery as well, is
Right.
was he an athlete as well?
So he did play golf. I mean, I think the definition of athlete goes into question. No, he, he is athletic, and but he did not play a collegiate sport, and
Okay.
but he is very smart and knowledgeable when it comes to sports. And he worked his way back up to being he started as an overnight tech, and he worked his way to becoming a therapist, getting two masters, getting a sports psychology degree, and he's working on his PhD right now. So
Oh my
he
gosh, I have the chills. That's incredible.
so he's in he you think I travel. I mean, you had mentioned he's on. If you could see our whiteboard of how we kind of jigsaw puzzle our travel, but he works for the Red Wings and he works for the Houston Astros, and so he is traveling. He's on the road.
Okay. So does he works directly with the this isn't your husband's podcast interview,
Yes.
by the way,
Well,
but it's your business.
yeah.
So do you guys does he work with athletes that play for those
So
sports teams?
yes, great question. So he works under Soda's Consulting and he also works under Invictus Sports. Dr. Derek Anderson is phenomenal and he is has a PhD and does all sorts of wonderful things and has really taken Jim under his wing. But Jim is the director of sports psychology for the Detroit Red Wings and he is the mental health coordinator for the Houston Astros.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Which, hello, just to normalize that, yes, athletes have mental health, need to take care of their mental health. Yes, they do have mental health. They need to take care of their mental health. And I often, what I've seen, and I don't want to get off topic, but it relative college athletes who don't go on to play professionally find some trouble area navigating the what's next after they
oh,
graduate college.
Kelly, absolutely. And there's a lot of pressure put on high school and
Sure.
we're in the throes of travel ball too.
Yep,
And it's a different world.
us too. It,
It is
it, it,
different.
it's mind blowing. Yeah,
Yeah. And so those kids and the parents
yeah,
need support systems.
sure. So you get out of treatment. I mean, how did your family know that was what was going to be best for you? Or did you tell them, or like, how did that all go down?
Yeah, so I didn't start drinking until late in high school, and I really drank to fit in. And the first time that I drank, I was with a group of girls, and I hadn't drank before. And one of the basketball players was with me, and who I'm still very close with. And I didn't know what to order, and she had said vodka, and I was like, "Oh, I'll drink vodka too." And didn't really know how to drink. Because I just hadn't drank before. And so I started doing shots of vodka. And the very first time we went to one of those teen dance clubs, I don't know if they had those when you, and
Sure did. Or we
I,
used fake IDs. Yeah.
I ended up ruining a brand new outfit. I blacked out because I had taken shot for shot with her. And the next morning, I was like, didn't remember much of the night. But what happened was I went downstairs of the house we were staying at, and everyone was like, "You were so much fun."
Mhm.
And it was my relationship with alcohol right from the start was like it made me feel like I was fun. It
Yeah.
made me feel like I fit in.
Mhm.
And it was off to the races the very first time that I drank.
Mhm.
Um, and so I drank for fortunately, and I say this knowing good and well that we just have for today.
Yep.
Um, Fortunately, my drinking and drugging was fairly short. It was about 6.5 years of drinking and drugging, and towards the end, it was every day. It got to a point though where my dad had said, "I can't watch you do this anymore. I have to draw a firm boundary with you."
Mm.
And my mom had to do the same because she was really helping me and financially.
Sure.
I graduated college, was working kind of a low-paying job, and she was helping supplement me.
Mhm.
And it took her saying, "Nick, I can't. I cannot help you anymore. You have a problem, and I can't support you anymore." And so you would think that that was the end. And she tells me that. I get a paycheck that next day. And my girlfriend calls and was like, "Do you want to go down to the Keys?" And I was like, "Yes."
Mhm.
And we go down to the Keys. I spent everything of my paycheck. And I came back and I was like, I owed rent. I had no gas in my car. I had $0 to my name. And so I was like, can I cuss?
Of course, please.
I
Fuck,
was
fuck, fuck.
I was like, fuck, I what I'm gonna do. And besides that financial barrier that was so bad, I truly had this black hole inside me that was like, Kelly, every morning I would wake up and I'd be like, I am not gonna drink today. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna drink today.
Mhm.
And then I would go to work or do whatever, and come 3 o'clock, I would feel so guilty about all the stuff that I had done. and dread what I had coming up. And it just got so bad that come by 5 o'clock, I was the happy hour coordinator. And I justified it by saying I never drink alone. I'm always with people, and the people I surround myself with drink and drug like me.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where some of the people that I thought were so bad were like, I think you might have a problem. And I'm like, what? How? So
Sure.
that
But
rolls
was
in.
your family savvy? I mean, great for your parents to put boundaries in place and weren't enabling you. Like, was there a family history of addiction anywhere that, yeah,
That I didn't know about till I went to treatment. And I was like, why didn't you tell me that my grandma was an alcoholic?
sure.
And it wouldn't have made a difference though.
Right, right, right. Thanks for the knowledge. I didn't dodge the bullet, but right.
Right. But I did learn about it in while I was in treatment. And I firmly believe, I mean, science shows us that it's hereditary. And it skipped my parents. So I didn't grow up with any violence in my home. I didn't grow up with addict or alcoholic parents. I
Okay.
was loved. I just had insecurities, and
Mhm.
I firmly believe that I had the disposition to being
Sure.
an alcoholic, as it showed right from the
Mhm.
jump.
And what about siblings? Any
Yeah.
siblings?
I do. I have a brother and a sister, and my sister is one of my best friends. We talk every day.
Mhm.
My brother is on a journey of his own.
Okay, great.
I
And you have a 14-year-old,
do. Yes.
which is where I kind of, well, and we'll get back to the work in a minute, but I am so eager to hear how other parents with teenagers navigate this who are in sobriety, because this is a whole new world for me. I mean, I have a 20, 18-year-old, almost 16-year-old, and almost 14-year-old. And with experiential drinking and partying and college normalization, I mean, the addict gene runs rampant in my family. So at a young age, I was educating our kids just about being at high risk and,
Oh,
precautions. And like you said, it helps or it doesn't. But at least I felt like that was my due diligence of here's the information. Now
right.
make the decisions that work best for you. But how do you navigate that? Because not only are you in recovery, your husband is too. So that gene runs rampant in
It
your daughter's genetics too.
For sure, it does. And I feel so fortunate that my daughter only knows a sober mom. And just this, so my home, I belong to a 12-step group, and my home group is on Saturday mornings. And just this Saturday, I woke her up and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to my meeting." And she's like, "Ugh, why do you go to those meetings every week still?" And I'm like, "So that I can be a nice, kind mom. Trust me, you don't want me to not go to those meetings." And so I say that she has only known us going to meetings.
Yeah.
And I feel so lucky when I had her. I had women coming to my home. We were having meetings in my house. She was saying the serenity prayer before knowing other prayers.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so that being said, I firmly believe that education is the most powerful tool. She will roll her eyes whenever the word alcohol or drugs. She tells us quite frequently that she's the only one, the only high schooler whose parents talk about drugs and alcohol as much as we do. Um, she
Uh-huh.
also, she whenever there's like a anti-drug or no vaping anything,
Yeah.
she'll be like, "Mom, what did you do?" She thinks I have anything to do with so that being said,
Yeah.
she is fully aware. She is fully aware that both her father and I carry are alcoholics, and that she is very susceptible to drinking.
Mhm.
And I try to carry some of the prevention tools that I have with her as much as she'll listen.
Yeah.
Um, my husband's a little more casual with dropping things. I'm a little more forceful. But she knows she's got sober folks, and she
Yeah.
knows that
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to drink in the house. And
Yep.
we're very open about fentanyl. And we've had, she has a lot of friends, Kelly, who are being raised by their grandparents because their parents have overdosed.
I mean, I guess my stereotypical mind goes to, well, you're in Florida, where it's highly accessible, right? Or, I mean,
Yeah,
holy cow, that is so scary.
It is. And it's just so it's not a secret, which I think is,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, carries both ends of
She's
this.
experiencing it through social circles too.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So,
And
and
ultimately, we're powerless over our children. My
you
daughter hates
are.
when I say that, but I'm like, you're going to make the decisions that you're going to make. I am powerless over you.
That,
So,
yeah, I completely agree. And so education is what we can do and just trying to set a good example.
yeah,
And that's what
yeah,
I do. So
yeah.
yes, it annoys her sometimes that I go to meetings, but like I am a much better person because I work on myself and I have to take those times away to be like, I've got to go,
Mhm.
you know,
Well, and thank you for saying that about meetings. And you're a fellow 12 stepper. And look, I mean, part of what I'm highlighting this month is women who have used all different kinds of resources to help get sober. And when you and I got sober, I didn't really know of any other place other than
I didn't
AA.
either. I didn't either.
For me, that was great because I'd be like, well, how about I try this one? Well, this one, it's like, this is where you're going to go. And I
Right.
went to a women's meeting and it stuck. So, I am curious to know how you have experienced the landscape for not only a woman in recovery, but this is your livelihood. I mean, you've built a whole profession on this and you work with people who go to residential, inpatient, intensive, I mean,
Yeah.
everything. Interventions. I know that you know a lot of sober coaches. Like, what is your kind of snapshot of the way this industry has evolved?
Oh, so different than when I came in 22 years ago. I went to an abstinence-based 12-step residential facility, was not really given an aftercare plan. And so that is not going to work for everyone.
Sure.
Most addicts and alcoholics will say that they're special. I do think that I'm special when it comes to that. That's not always the recipe for everyone, but that was part of my path.
Mhm.
Um, how I have seen it evolve is there is so many great ways for people to get sober who don't want to do 12 steps, who are, have an aversion to that.
Mhm.
So I think I'm doing some work for She Recovers right now that I know you're very familiar
Yes, they are so excited to have you, by the
with.
way.
I have never been around such a warm group of women who are so inclusive of everyone, of every types of all different types of recovery.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's part of the big evolution, right? Is it's not just one way, it's all these different ways now. And there is something for everyone. I think that if you're like, no, there's not something for me, that I don't want to say that you're not trying, but there
Mhm.
is just like there's something for everyone
Oh,
out there.
for sure. Right.
And Kelly, your book is so wonderful to explain your path, and that's so we have very different paths, right?
Mhm.
And I think that that's important, and that's why I'm so proud to be able to share my story when appropriate to give people hope and say, listen, you find what works for you.
Mhm.
But I will say you got to put work into it. Like
Sure.
it's not easy,
Right.
and so I think it's trying it out. I think it's finding your tribe or your herd.
Mhm.
For me, I went to a ton of women's meetings and I found a sponsor, Kelly, who um, had 30 years and I really connected with her and her story. And so finding women who have what you want
Mhm.
is for me so important. And that's what I try to guide other women to do. Like find some women who have what you want and follow their path. And there's just so many different ways.
And you have a master's degree from Georgetown in policy. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Why? What do you want?
Yeah.
What you said I need this because.
I said I need this because I was working for the National Association of Addiction Treatment Providers, which is a big mouthful.
Mhm.
Um, and they asked me to help coordinate a Hill Day. And I had the pleasure, or I had the great gift of getting a wonderful mentor. And so when I went to DC, Sherry Layton was my mentor. When I went to DC, Kelly, this fire lit in me to like, this is what you should be doing.
Okay.
And we did a Hill Day to bring people from all over the country to advocate for different substance use disorder issues. And so after that, I tried to find different ways to create state chapters, and more policy just kept kind of finding its way to me. And so COVID hit, and I had a couple of people send me this new program at Georgetown. And I look at it as a trifecta, a triangle. So I had the personal experience of being in recovery. I
Mhm.
had the professional experience of working in the behavioral health field. And I really wanted to legitimize my seat at the table when I was at the Hill and when I was talking to legislators. So
Mhm.
I had the opportunity to go to Georgetown to get my master's of science in addiction policy. And I'm so thankful for my husband and my mom who came down and helped all the time because I was going back and forth from
It
Jupiter
was
to,
in person?
yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, that was a while ago. So
No, it was 2 years ago.
no.
Yeah, I
2
just
years ago?
see
And
I graduated in 23. So
and you
um
were still there wasn't a Zoom option for
there
that.
it was a little bit of hybrid. Yes, it was a little bit of
Okay.
hybrid, but I was going up at least once a month to be in person. And
Okay.
no, this was recently.
Okay. Okay.
So
Wow.
I wanted to legitimize.
Yeah.
So really looking at that triangle of doing it. That's why I say my husband, because my daughter was in school, I was still working full time, and I really wanted it.
I, I knew that it was later in life, but I didn't realize it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Girl. Okay. So what needs to happen?
Oh, we need more women. We need more voices. It doesn't just have to be women. I'm just really on a women. Um, we need each other right now more than ever, particularly with some of the obstacles that we're facing in this administration and with different issues. So, what we need is we need solidarity in voices.
Okay.
You hear a lot about these different silos, and I think that that does have to be smashed. We need to come together in order to get stuff done. And so I think that there's that. I think that this infighting needs to stop between different groups and organizations. So I would say coming together, having our voices be heard, and we need more people who aren't afraid to speak up, like
Mhm.
to really tell their truth and to say, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to fight for.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to put together more advocacy workshops to empower people to
Mhm.
feel like it's not so overwhelming because there's so many things
Mhm.
that we can do. Even if you think it's like, I mean, it takes one person to make a difference. I firmly believe that. And so it's
Mhm.
finding what you believe in and then being able to take those baby steps to be able to make a louder difference.
Okay. I have to believe you know Ryan Hampton.
I do, yes.
Okay, so he's been a guest on my podcast too, and I'm wondering, like, are you going to run for office? Is that a
I very much am thinking about that, Kelly.
okay? Okay, excellent. Well, we'll return to that at some point. Um, anything else to add to that?
I'm just trying to think if there's any like tidbits. Like there's so many different ways to get involved locally
Yeah.
too. So just don't be my words of encouragement is don't be intimidated to get involved in different policy things because locally you have your city council. There's so many different ways to be involved that aren't at the larger federal level. And so
Okay. That
um,
is a great piece because I think sometimes it is very overwhelming to navigate like people who do want to get involved and how they can. And so you would say start at the local level, like in your community.
in your community,
Yeah.
exactly right. So I'm on the PTA board. So in the school, looking for ways to infuse different prevention methods into school. I'm also on the HOA board. I don't mean to make it seem like
No,
I'm,
no, no. I know.
but so there's different ways that you
Yeah.
can infuse your immediate local community.
Got it. Okay. That is really important to know. On a larger scale, do you have a goal in mind I mean, no joke, like you are at every conference and rubbing shoulders with the right people. That's an important part of change too. What do you think needs to happen on a larger scale?
I think we have to have more bipartisan efforts. We've become so divided that we have to bring those groups together. So fortunately, I was just at this addiction policy conference in Nashville, the
Okay.
RX Summit, and it seemed to be a little more unification. So I think the willingness to listen and be open-minded, and then coming together at the table, both parties, different opinions have got to work together towards mutual solutions. And I think that there's just this big divide right now that it's causing kind of a stalling in getting shit done.
Yeah, yeah. And when you go to those, do you feel like you're trying to convince somebody on the other side of something, or is it two people coming together and having a conversation, or like what's your tactic?
Yeah. So I guess that would depend on the person that I'm talking to. I really try, and I'm thankful to my parents for this, for being very open-minded. And so I do have very strong convictions and very strong opinions. But when I go into situations, I keep an open mind. I think that's so important to do.
Mhm.
And so I'm not trying to necessarily convince anyone of anything. I want to hear the other side, and then I want to see, okay, here's what I'm advocating for. So I do some work with Ashley Addiction Treatment Center in Maryland, and I
Mhm.
go to the Hill a lot for them in Annapolis. And what I do is I try to educate. And so it's not a like shoving an issue on anything. It's, hey, did you know we've been around since 1985 and we provide all these services? It's doing things like that
Okay.
to open doors
Mhm.
for to open doors for mutual change.
Okay. That sounds lovely. If everybody would just show up with a more open mind, maybe
Right?
we could get shit done.
Right.
But
Until then, and I keep learning. That's the other
okay.
thing. I
Okay.
would say keep keep learning and growing, and because the old way of thinking, there's always different ways to look at it. And so
Yeah.
that's my other thing. I'm constantly listening to podcasts,
Uh-huh.
to reading and learning, and that's why I go to conferences too. Like when I go, I'm
Yeah.
not just bullshitting around. I am sitting in the sessions, I am learning, I'm taking notes, I am, going to the speakers of things that I may not agree with, but I want to hear what they have to say.
Sure. Sure, sure, sure. Okay. Oh gosh, I have so many questions for you. Pause. Um, you are a woman in long-term recovery, and I think sometimes the misconception is, I mean, you haven't had a drink or drug in 22 years. You're good, right? Not that you would go back, but like, why do you still go to meetings on Saturday? Or what do you do? I mean, obviously, you're preaching to the choir here, but like for people listening, what is important for you today in long-term recovery to maintain a sense of peace and groundedness?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, yes, I have 22 years, but so Kelly, I loved Miller Lite. I was a Miller Lite girl. And there are times when there is so much going on in my life and I'm somewhere, and especially being living by the beach, right?
Yeah.
Where I'll go, and if there's this tape that's like, "Oh, you have these years now. You could have a Miller Lite." But for me, I know what that tape is. Like I take a sip of Miller Lite even though it's been 22 years, I'm looking for cocaine somewhere. Like there is zero doubt in my mind that that's the case. And part of that is the journals that I kept, how bad I felt when I went in, how good my life is today because I don't pick up a drink or a drug, and because I go to meetings and I surround myself with people who are like, you can't drink.
Mhm.
For me, I can't
Yeah.
drink. So playing that tape and knowing the consequences, um, and also for me, as we've been open on this podcast, meetings for me give me an opportunity to hear the things that I want to do and I sure as shit don't want to do. And so hearing those stories of how people so quickly fall out of their good patterns and then they relapse.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in my mind that's like I'm immune from this. And I fully believe my disease is doing push-ups to be like, hey, we're still here.
Sure.
And it would
Sure.
be off to the races if I had a drink.
Thank you for naming the drug of choice too, because I think sometimes we kind of talk around it and it's like people need to know.
Yeah. Miller Lite and cocaine. That was my jam, Kelly. That was my jam. So, but I need to talk about it because
Right.
otherwise, right?
Right.
Now,
Well, and that's
that being
why
said, I don't talk about it. It's not like I'm
no,
talking about it every day.
no, but I mean, especially for people like I'm thinking of myself being a newcomer in a meeting, and the idea of like find a woman who has something you want. And I'm like, women probably like beeline to you, like, will you sponsor me, please? Because you are so real and authentic and look at this beautiful life you're living, but it's still hard. It's not perfect.
It's totally hard. And I'm going to throw sex in there too. Like that's part of it too that we don't talk. And that's why I prefer women's meetings a lot so that we can be open and honest and about that. And I think that I am so lucky, Kelly, to have this phenomenal women's group that I have down here. We're getting ready on Friday night to have a big dinner party for a bunch of us that are celebrating anniversaries in April. And it's like such a godsend to be able to have those conversations. But I think like I, to my core, am an alcoholic drug addict. And
Okay.
so the things that I have done to piece my life together have been hard, fulfilling, but
Mm,
worth every iota of it. And
sure.
I just want to say too that like if I can do it, I was an everyday drinker. I was doing drugs every day. Like if I can do it, I truly, truly from the bottom of my heart believe anyone can do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, and I think what's so important too is you said addictions with an S on the end, right? It's like an addiction is addiction is addiction because whether it's drugs, cocaine, sex, or I'm sorry, drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, you name it, it's like that brain, and I see a lot of people who get sober and have cross addictions, right? And it's like
Really.
we have to keep a pulse on it. And I did, just as a side note, update my book because the landscape of resources has expanded, but also, it wasn't that long ago that a craving came out of the middle of nowhere and it scared the shit out of me. And
Yeah.
gratefully I knew what to do, and my mom's sober, my brother's sober, my best friend's sober, and I just sent out a quick text message, but I was like, I had visions of being at my son's travel basketball tournament and just staying in the hotel room. And I knew what it would look like. It wasn't, oh, I can have one Miller Lite.
You played the tape. Did you
Oh no,
actually
I know what this
play
looks
the
like. Let's not start there. And so the auto correction happened a lot quicker.
tape?
But we have to work at it.
Totally. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, I am so happy to be sitting across from you and talking to you. And it's been a long time coming. And I know that our paths will cross in the world outside of our screens too,
absolutely.
hopefully sooner rather than later. But I do find comfort when I see you out there being like, oh, Nikki's got it. She's doing a great job. She's moving the needle.
Well, just know that it's due to going to meetings, how I'm able to going to meetings and talking to other women and having a really, really supportive, strong husband. So those are
Yeah.
and a
Oh,
family. So those are big factors in how I'm able to do what I do.
for sure. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
everything.
you for
And
all that you do too, Kelly. And I love how you spread the message. And I'm always so grateful to see you out there carrying the torch, so to speak. So
thank
I
you.
can't wait for us to be together in person.
Absolutely. And for everybody listening, just a gentle reminder to be the change you wish to see in the world, whether it starts within your family, your community, or the world. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.